The Fury of Firestorm, number 15, written and art by Dan Jurgens. Last issue we left off with Dr. Magala transferring his consciousness into the Firestorm body, and Captain Atom showing up in front of General Eiling saying, like, hey, I'm here to help. So this issue picks up with Ronnie and Jason both waking up in, like, the void of the quantum field, just a total blackness, and they're like, if you're not driving and I'm not driving, who's driving our body right now? And we flash over to Dr. Magala, and it's literally just his janky old face on the Firestorm body, and he's just like, oh my god, I have so much power. Hold on, I gotta test this out. And he looks around and he sees a passenger jet nearby, and he's just like, I want to see if I can just like phase right through it. And he just goes and just phases through the airplane, and he's being watched by his like fellow scientists in the continuum, and they're just like, hey, does he seem kind of crazy? And this is like, yeah, I think he's a little bit crazy. And they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't have let him have unbelievable power. And then he goes down to Mount Rushmore, and he's like, they always said that if you had incredible power, you could move mountains. I'm instead just going to transmute the mountains. And he changes the president's faces to people he thinks are more deserving, the greatest minds of all time. So he changes it to Galileo, Newton, Einstein, and then the fourth is himself, of course. So then we cut back to Ronnie and Jason. They're inside and just be like, okay, so someone else is currently driving our body. How do we, I bet it had to do with that robot that attacked us. And it's like, yeah, good job, Ronnie. Definitely had to do with the robot that attacked us. So they're like, all right, we're still in the body. So there must be some way that we can push him out. We just got to bide our time. So we cut back to General Eiling, who's talking to Captain Atom. And he's just like, oh, hey, Captain Atom, thought you would have killed yourself by now. And he's like, it's nice to see you too, Eiling. Anyway, there's the thing called Firestorm going on right now, and they're super dangerous. And he's just like, oh, super dangerous. Like you, Mr. Can cause and also cure cancer. And he's just like, yeah, sure. Anyway, so apparently immediately this guy rushes in. He's like, General Eiling, apparently there was a firestorm who rearranged Mount Rushmore. And he's just like, oh, so do you believe me now? And he's like, fine, whatever, Captain Atom. What do you want to do? So then we see the country of Karak is launching off nuclear missiles, and Firestorm's just like, oh, you know what? Screw that country. How dare they try to intimidate us with nuclear missiles? I'm gonna transform their missile into a Rubik's Cube. And the scientists are continuing. We're like, I'm pretty sure that interfering with that would be a declaration of war. And he's just like, I'm a god now, so I don't care. So then we see at the USS Independence, a massive aircraft carrier, there's apparently a mole that as soon as Magala changes the missile into a Rubik's Cube, it is a declaration of war. So this guy who is a Karaki mole then activates a bomb on the side of this aircraft carrier, blows it up. And again, immediately General Eiling gets the report of like, sir, there's been an explosion on the USS Independence. And at that point, Captain Atom's like, all right, well, I stopped in here just to see if you could give me any information. And seems like you can't, so I'm just going to peace out. Bye. So he goes over to the continuum because he figures that's where Magala's going to be. And he pops in and he's like, hey, Magala, how did you manage to take over Firestorm? And he sees Magala's just like comatose because his body currently doesn't have a consciousness in it. And he's like, oh, okay, consciousness transfer. Got it. All right. I know what I got to do. So he teleports out and then teleports right next to Magala. And they just start getting into a fist fight. And Magala's like, hey, I'm just on your level now, Captain Atom. We had a whole book that got canceled where I just wanted to be on your level, and now I am. So shut up. And he's just like, hey, we have too much power. Like each of us individually, we should not be able to do the things we should do. And he's just like, I'm not going to be lectured by you. So he fires off some energy blast at Captain Atom. It's barely doing anything. But then Jason and Ronnie are like, hold on. He's expelling a lot of energy. If he expels enough, maybe, just maybe, we can make the push to take back over the body. So he's blasting a whole lot of energy at Captain Atom. He thinks that he's managed to incinerate him, but of course Captain Atom just shows up behind him and pushes his hand through Magala's chest, and he's just like, you have only had this body for a short period of time. You don't know all the quirks yet, like managing to maintain your physical form with all this energy. And so at that point, we see that his form starts cracking apart, and that's where Ronnie and Jason make the push, and they start like, hey, we're inside your head. We're a bunch of teenagers in your head, and it's too much energy for Magala to handle, basically setting off an explosion that like causes a tidal wave on that aircraft carrier. Which I really got to point out here is that the Mount Rushmore is in the Dakotas, Karak's on the other side of the world, and then this aircraft carrier is probably in U.S. waters in between. I don't understand how he's getting to these places so quickly, but regardless, he is. So Jason and Ronnie are like, hey, so do you remember like Fury and how we weren't able to control Fury, but we were able to like guide him and push him? Maybe we can do that now with Magala. Maybe we can like push him back to where his body is, so that way we can then get him out of our body. And I was like, all right, worth a shot. So they're trying to just talk to him through his head. Just like, hey, Magala, hey, how about you head back to the science lab? How about you go back there? And he's like, shut up. I'm dealing with Captain Atom right now. And so they continue to get into a fight. And he's blasting more and more energy at Captain Atom. It's not doing anything. But Captain Atom's like, you're not doing anything to me, but you are still too powerful. You could have just obliterated a city with that much power. I'm going to take you down. And Captain Atom fires off a shot at him. They both start to charge up Super Saiyan style. And he's just like, oh, this is it. This is the final battle. And they start charging at each other. But because Magala's using so much energy, he's finally able to be brought into the quantum field with Jason and Ronnie. And then they just punch him in the face in there. And because Magala's now out for the count, Ronnie starts taking over the body again. And he's just like, hey, I'm back in the body. Captain Atom, for the love of God, please stop charging me. I'm back in the body now. And he's like, sorry, kid, I believe you, but I'm moving too quick. This is going to happen. And they collide into this massive, like, nuclear bomb-sized explosion. But it turns out that Captain Atom did manage to pull back a little bit of his punch, but he had to pull it back into himself. So his energy structure is now not stable. It starts rupturing, and he starts exploding out into a million pieces that rupture throughout time and space. And we see one of the pieces has made their way to the 31st century, where it lands, and he has amnesia. And when someone asks, like, hey, are you okay? What's your name? He says, wait, I remember that. My name is Adam. And if you've been reading Legion Lost, there is a character with a mysterious background in that book named Adam that this now fully explains. I did not expect this to be a tie-in to Legion Lost, but here we goddamned are. So, anyway, Firestorm also got hit in the explosion. Ronnie's out for the count. Jason's in his head being like, wake up, you gotta wake up, as he plunges down into the ocean. End of issue. Why did this tie into Legion Lost? Was this just the thing that's always been? Did Captain Atom always have a part in Legion? I'm so confused. Anyway, ignoring all that, I think this played out as well as it could have. I don't think we needed to spend any more time with Magala as Firestorm. I think it did a decent enough job of saying, hey, look, he got the powers. He went a little bit crazy with it. Captain Atom showed up and immediately was just like, nah, we're done with this now. And through a combination of Captain Atom and Jason and Ronnie, they managed to take back the body. I think that's good in that it wasn't all Captain Atom. It did allow our main characters to do something actually active rather than passive. So yeah, I think it's a solid enough issue. I'd give this one I'm going to give it a 6.5, and the only reason I'm not giving it a 7 is because that Legion Lost things felt so random and so just like, ah, yes, you didn't see that one coming, did you? And it's like, no, but that doesn't make it good. Why was that it's gonna bug me. So yeah, 6.5. We'll see what happens to Firestorm next issue.